Latinos Out Loud podcast. Latinos. Yeah, that's what this is. Latinos Out Loud.
You know Laura Gómez. This is Latinos Out Loud. Yo, 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 yo. How's everybody doing? Happy International Women's History Month. The celebration continues. Laura has attained much success. She has another podcast called Barajo Eso. You know her as Blanca Flores from Orange is the New Black. And this is her second time on Latinos Out Loud. Welcome, Laura Gómez. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How
Hace
are you,
demasiado. It's been
querida?
too long. It's been too long.
It's been a long time, pero te estoy siguiendo. I'm still following you and seeing what you're doing, and you're doing such amazing thing. We're going to talk about another podcast that you're doing that you voice, and I'm sure you were in the trenches with, because when I hear your voice in a podcast, it sounds like you know everything about this particular show. So welcome back. First of all, my first question is, how are you? How you doing?
Good, Rachel. Thank you so much. I feel very welcome. Thank you so much for your warmth and making this happen in like such a small amount of time that, I reached out and it's like, hey, I have this podcast I need to talk to you about and your audience, because it's so perfect especially for Women's History Month. So thank you for having me here.
It really is. And all I can say is when Laura Gómez DMs you on Instagram, you answer, okay? So in this case, when I saw the DM come through, first of all, I highly respect your career and everything you've done. The first time you were on the show, we had a moment because I told you how special that and how profound that ice moment was in the last episode of Orange is the New Black.
About that. I was talking about that yesterday, right? Blanca Flores was, through my character, we were depicting that reality back then in 2016. Well, it was supposed to be 2019 or so, but seeing what's going on in the US right now, it just feels so real and so urgent, and what we're going through is just a nightmare, I wish it had stayed on a television show. That's as much as I'm gonna say.
Well, the good thing is that those episodes are still out there on Netflix, so you can still watch the show. But how amazing and sad that history often repeats itself. And in this case, we're living the reality of Blanca Flores through the current administration in this country. It really, oh gosh, I got a rock in my throat just now. Go away. This rock in my throat makes me emotional. So anyway, but just like the way your character was depicted and through your work, that was you, my dear querida, and your talent really coming through and emitting from your pores and bringing us into Blanca Flores' situation, and then reminding us that our family members, although maybe not incarcerated and walking out of jail, go through something very similar.
Just the vulnerability of it all, just the lack of respect towards human rights. And it's just, back then it was a depiction based on, we were actually inspired by his first administration, and I'm not even going to mention the name, but not only him, by the way, Democrats had done it themselves. So we've been going through a lot, and it was just Latinos going through this at some point, but now it's like wider than this. Not just Latinos actually, but Latinos were the main target, and now it's just a matter of human rights, honestly.
Yeah, basically. Well, we could go in that direction with this episode, but I just want to shift gears a little bit and make it more celebratory, because congratulations on your newest project out of PRX Studios, which is a very highly respected entity. So congrats on working with them. Lost Women of Science. This is an incredible project. Would you please tell the LOLeros a little bit more about this podcast?
It actually connects. It all connects because it's about history, and it's about knowing your history. And why history repeats is because we forget. And I think that, right? I think that the beauty of this project, Lost Women of Science, just to start there, is a podcast that has existed, and is a celebration of women and kind of bringing them to public knowledge, of women who have been forgotten precisely by history. And they're therefore lost women of science. This season is dedicated to Evangelina Rodríguez Perozo, who was the first female doctor in the Dominican Republic during
Wow.
the times of dictator Rafael Leonidas Trujillo, therefore connecting the dots to our previous conversation. It's kind of all connected somehow. And I was hired to be the narrator. They've only done English thus far. And when they reached out, I asked, are you planning to do this in Spanish? And it's like, we've been thinking about it. And I'm like, we must. We must do this in
Yes.
Spanish as well, because I didn't know Evangelina. And I have to tell you, Rachel, that my heart exploded the more I knew about her. And I am in awe of this woman. And so I needed this story to be told for, yes, a wider audience, and of course, Latinos in the US, and just in a broader sense, everywhere. But for the Dominican Republic as well, because so many people do not know who Doctora Evangelina Rodríguez Perozo was, myself included.
Myself too. I'm one of them. I had no idea.
Yeah, they wanted me, they asked me, do you want to include that in the premise? Do you want to talk about that? I'm like, yes, I'm not proud of this, but I want to say that I did not know who this wonderful woman was. And there's a generation, like my dad's generation, who was closer to the Trujillo's times. They are more aware of her life. But I don't really think that they know details. They knew about this woman by, I guess, word of mouth, or just the fact that it was closer. But what I've discovered through the storytelling of this podcast, Lost Women of Science, and Mujeres Desconocidas de la Ciencia en español, is that there's so much richness to this woman's history. And she was born in poverty. She was a Black Dominican woman in the times of Trujillo. She was abandoned by her parents and raised by her paternal grandma in the streets selling gofio. Gofio is this sweet
Cornbread? Is it like cornbread? Y de San Pedro Macorís, right?
San Pedro de Macorís.
Ay.
And yes, and she was raised in the street selling this sweets. And then just by chance of life, she was in touch with these two brothers who were like iconic in the Dominican Republic. They were artists, los hermanos de Ligne, the Ligne brothers. And they were poets and well-known high society people, but they had leprosy. And that was a very difficult disease to deal with. It affected the skin, and it was
And it was incurable, right? At that time.
until the 80s, I believe. And
Which was like just yesterday. That's so crazy.
but this was in the 1920s, like 19 teens, early 1920s. So this is beginning of the 20th century. And this woman somehow, they got to meet each other, and she took care of she took care of them, but one specifically, Rafael, and he with such kindness and devotion. And he became a mentor and introduced her into this different world. And that was the beginning of a journey to becoming the first female doctor in the 19.
Wow. It's incredible. And so tell me what it was like working with all these historians, and what was your role with working, because April Mays, she was involved. And also I learned something else from the first episode, is that the whole higher education system was really becoming developed, and like Eugenio Hostos developed the first like, so I didn't even know about all this history in the Dominican Republic. We are some educated people, okay? We are some higher educated merenguiendo people that are very fun and colorful. Tell us more about working with these historians and the things that you learned.
Protected, by the way. You can never take this for granted. Look at what's happening in the US, okay?
Yeah.
Yes, Eugenio Maria de Hostos, who's another figure that to be reckoned with, because he was this Puerto Rican, very progressive minded man who who initiated these schools called normales, and he brought them to the Dominican Republic, but he said it cannot only be for men. Women need to be included. This cannot be for just half of society. So there's something there about a person, also a man of those times, to be such a just a progressive mind, you know.
Like an advocate too for us, back then where that wasn't the cool thing to do.
Yeah, and Salomé Ureñas de Enriquez was involved in this as well, like our great poet. And at the end of the day, Evangelina went to one of these schools, and that was the beginning. Because at the time, their only schools that were available were like religious schools that were only educating women to be housewives. It was only home, to be at the home and sew and cook and whatnot. This was it. And this was teaching them a little bit of that, yes, because they had to, keep with the times, but they were also showing them about science and literature and arts. And it was the beginning of a journey for this woman coming from the streets and to be introduced to this, and to me, again, we're talking about like a Black woman, a Black Dominican woman in those times who came from poverty, exposed to education that then changed everything, because she managed to go to Paris. And we go through all this journey in the podcast with details, right? And how she was so progressive that when she came back eventually, and you have to hear the podcast to hear all the details as to how she managed to go to Paris, how she managed to become a doctor in those times. She also became an advocate for family planning for women, and she would secretly give women condoms, and and she would help sexual workers, and it was beyond. I mean, she was ahead of her times, really, in many.
It's also digestible. It's a 5-part series. So that's very digestible. It sounds like there's a lot of information condensed into this 5-part series. Tell me about working with PRX, and like you already mentioned that you were probably a major helping in make the decision to make it bilingual. But like, tell me what else. What was your role other than being the voice of this amazing show? I want to go back to the question before. Did you actually get to learn from these
Oh, the
specialists?
historians. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Yes, you
the
mentioned.
historians.
No. I only narrated the work that they had already been done at that point. Unfortunately, unfortunately and fortunately, I get to narrate that. But yes, so the Lost Women of Science, the producers themselves, and there's a whole website you can visit, the lostwomenofscience.org. It's a group of people led by women who have taken to the task of bringing these women's stories to light. So PRX is the outlet and that has been producing the show. I came on this season, luckily, recommended from another podcast that I had done, Corina and the King, Corina y el Rey, and that was also produced by PRX. So I was just lucky in that regard, and my role was mostly to adapt. I did adapt the Spanish, and narrate both. And in the sense of the creative that they asked, can you have all the liberty to adapt it to your voice, and how would you say these things? And of course, the Spanish is totally your your avenue. So I work directly with.
Great.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I work directly with Samia Busid, who's one of our producers, and it's been a blast, honestly.
So now that you've learned so much about Doctora Evangelina, what are 1 or 2 things that you really took from learning about her and maybe apply to your own journey?
Wow, it's a good question. I've been thinking a lot about her. She has touched my heart. I feel a connection to this woman. I feel a connection of her to my grandmother, because I was also a hard worker, like a hustler, and an uneducated woman who had a vision, and I feel that Evangelina has given me a sense of power and empowerment. um, and also not to take things for granted, our freedoms, because this was a woman living in times where women could not even plan their pregnancies, and she had to see so many women die. That this was one of her inspirations, right, to go towards becoming a gynecologist. It was she wanted to help the women in her country, and poor women, because she knew that these women did not have access to health care. And to me, the idea of a woman thinking of giving other women, like condoms, it wasn't something. I just think me in my 40s, and we're still fighting for rights. Like we're still, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna go political. We can't even have abortion in the DR. It's not even legal for exceptions. It's not even legal if a woman is about to die. So for me, this woman is a beacon of freedom, and it's just a symbol of the strength that we Dominican women and Latinas, it was just women, we just carry, but specifically coming from an island that has so many limitations. I'm in awe of her. So I find her, that she kind of became it became a very personal issue for me. This is why I wanted to come talk about her in this podcast.
That's really beautiful. And it strikes such a chord. And as I heard the episode, and I told you this off the air, like my mother, my grandmother, my tias, they all grew up during the time of, well, my grandmother didn't grow up, but they were around in the yard during the time of the dictator Trujillo. And I've heard countless stories, things that my mother saw that she could never erase from her mind: men getting beaten in the streets, having to hang Trujillo's picture on the wall right next to Jesus Christ, all of this mistreatment that, again, wasn't that long ago. I want to know, now that you've done this podcast and being born capitaleña, okay? Santo Domingo invita. Okay, just being from La República and understanding what our family members and ancestors have went through, how important is this to you, carrying on this legacy and preaching, teaching about the stories? Because you said it so eloquently off air. Like, if we don't tell the stories, they will be forgotten. And there's so much deep history that is not in textbooks and that is not recorded, that needs to be recounted. So tell us about your connection to that and the importance of it to you.
Well, this is an example. This woman is an example. Like you said, I was raised in DR. I went to school in Santo Domingo, and I was never, this Evangelina Rodríguez Perozo was never mentioned in history books. And I just ask why? Why is a woman that actually eventually confronted Trujillo, because she was at odds with him from way before he was a dictator, way before he came to power. They had met before, or she knew about him from the surroundings in San Pedro de Macorís. So to me, the fact that this woman is not taught as just the same as the Mirabal sisters, not more or less, just the same. There are different circumstances. The Mirabal sisters came from another upbringing, and they were higher class, lighter skin. So I don't know. Maybe that had something to do with it. And I just feel that she deserves the same respect. So to me, I am very passionate about history. I've always been passionate about history because I feel is what gives us a sense of self, and is what gives us as a society. And I feel that right now we're living in a very unconscious society. We're living as if what's happening in Gaza does not affect us, or, just the fact that El Golfo de Mexico is being changed to El Golfo de América doesn't mean anything. It means a lot. It means a lot if you go back in history. And when you hear this podcast, you will see how mentalities like that work, because you start changing and taking liberties from people. Until then, you have none, and you don't care about what's happening to this or so person because it's not your nationality, or it's not, oh, it's just gays or it's just women. And eventually gets to you and you're like, what happened? It's been happening. And it's actually happened throughout history. And we've seen it before. We just forgot. We just got comfortable. And I feel that only this type of stories like Evangelina gives us this sense of history. And like I said, she became like, I cannot lose my freedom. This woman lost hers so that we can gain ours. This woman was a doctor in the 1920s so that other women could she opened a door so that other women could go through it. So I feel that's just so relevant.
It is. And you hit such a powerful point there. The que people are woke. That's a joke. Like, how woke are you if you don't even know where you came from and those that opened the doors before us and went through the struggle and persevered and then passed the baton?
Woke needs to be a verb, and woke at the beginning, because now it's kind of like, I don't know what it is anymore. But at the beginning, it was for, I believe it was the Black community who started using it for their circumstances and strength and, fight. And then it just became a sense of, I don't know, there's a sense of I don't even know, but I don't want to go into, wrong territory here. But it's funny because now I have an uncle who's very conservative who used the word woke to kind of insult me. Oh yeah, you're one of those woke. And I'm like, what?
God.
I guess I am. Thank you. If you say it, I say thank you. When we say it, I said we have to make that word actually mean something, and you only make it mean something by learning what's happening and by taking action in your civil rights and being active with participating in society and participating in fights that maybe are not yours, because hey, men can join women's fights for freedom.
Absolutely. We welcome them.
Yeah, and straight people can join gay people. You don't have to be something to believe and care for human rights. You know what I mean? It's just human rights. We're all human. So I feel that's part of the reason that makes me feel so passionate about this story. And just to use the moment and link it to my own podcast, Barajo Eso, is something that I do a lot in my podcast. My conversations are about things that are seldom talked about, that we don't really discuss, from things as simple as someone's story about love or mine, or someone's journey in their career or death. I have an episode coming up with someone talking about death. She's a doula of death, right?
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And these things are all that they matter, and so hearing a story like Evangelina is as relevant today as it was back then. Her story is just, and by the way, it's called The Extraordinary Life and Tragic Death of Evangelina Rodríguez Perozo. She did have a tragic death that we need to talk to hear in the podcast and talk about.
I am looking forward to binging this podcast. I'm only one episode in, but again, it's in a digestible format. It's only 5 episodes, so I can't wait. And I've been learning already just from episode 1. Bueno, Mami, you're really becoming like La Reina de Podcasts. Like, how?
This is a very difficult journey. Being a podcaster is not easy. Oh, God, but I love it. There's something about this.
It
format.
shows. It shows that you love it.
Wait, I lost you.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
It's very clear that you are passionate about this medium. I mean, I am just as passionate. This medium is so powerful. Podcasts are exonerating people from prison. Podcasts like this are teaching us. Now the pipeline to Hollywood. Hollywood is now like listening and taking these amazing podcasts and creating a pipeline to TV series and movies. Just the evolution of podcasting in the last decade is really incredible and something to watch. And if you LOLeros don't know that trajectory, just look it up on Google and see what I'm talking about. How these true crime podcasts are helping people regain their freedom. Podcasts. I am now in my 2nd semester of teaching advanced radio radio and podcasting at CUNY Brooklyn College. And it's really amazing. I see that there's a demand to not only learn and like as a consumer, but now how to start your own podcast. So I guess my question to you is now that I don't even know how many podcasts you have, two, but then you've
No, I
starred
have
in
mine,
others.
Barajo Eso. It's my podcast it's conversations and sometimes monologues. And now I've been narrating a few. So this is my second major. It was Corina y el Rey, and now Lost Women of Science. And that's another thing because I started in radio, when I was.
Oh, wow. ¿Allá en la República o acá? Look at that.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So that kind of connects now. But to me, there's something about storytelling through audio, you know, when I don't know, you can be washing the dishes and you can, like you said, this podcast is very palatable. And also like you can send it to your mom and hear it yourself. Because I feel like I sent it to my parents and they're loving it, but I also sent it to my younger cousin, and she heard it and she's like, "Oh wow, I didn't know this." And so there's also something about this woman's story. But yeah, to me, this format is just very intimate. I love it.
So what's next? Is there anything that you're working on that you can share? Give us a little teaser, a preview.
After a preview, well, two things. There's two movies that I'm in upon entry that was nominated here in Spain to the Goyas, and it won many awards. It was nominated also for the
Congratulations.
Independent Spirit Awards. Thank you. And that movie is available in the US for free on the platform Tubi.
Love
So, and
Tubi.
yeah, and you can also rent it on Prime, but why rent it from Jeff Bezos when you can see it on Tubi?
There you go.
And then La Cocina, which is a Mexican movie starring Rooney Mara, is amazing. And it started, it's already in all platforms, Prime and Apple TV, available in the US, and it's on Max Latin America. So that film is another one that I'm so proud of, and I'm an actor in both. And they both have this charge. Like one of them is a thriller that takes place in an airport and a migratory portion of the airport, and it's about that migration thing. And the other was amazing. And the other one is just one day in a kitchen in a restaurant in Times Square, and with these immigrants working behind the scenes. And it's
Wow.
amazing. It's such a powerful film. It received rave reviews throughout festivals and opened in Berlin, and that's showing now. As to what's next, I just did I had a small role. But I had a small role in the new Diego Luna's film as a director. He directed.
Wepa! Is this your directorial debut?
No, I don't. He directed.
No,
it.
yours. Oh, he directed it. Okay,
I'm
my bad.
in
I
it.
heard that you.
No, oh gosh, oh no. I'm in it. I have a small role in it, and it's his film that he directed. So that's still shooting. I already finished my portion, but that's shooting. It's a beautiful film, actually starring one of my castmates from La Cocina, Ana Diaz. So, and she's in Barajo Eso, so you can hear her interview there too. So it's all connected. And as to what's next is I am preparing. Well, I'm moving a film that I wrote and hope to direct. So I'm going to Malaga to the film festival to make more connections and try to make that happen. So hopefully that's in.
I see. I'm not even psychic, but I kind of was like, is that your directorial debut? Because I could so see that for you. And the world needs Laura Gómez in a director's chair. This is so great. I'm so proud of you.
We sure need more women telling telling stories. And there's been a great rise in that. I don't know if you saw that The Substance or Baby Girl. I love both of those movies. And there's a bunch of like Latin American films with female directors. But I think we have stories to tell and we need to tell them. So
We sure do. Ay, Laura, congratulations on all your success. I mean, it's just you're glowing. You're beaming right now, and you're doing such projects with purpose, which is there's a lot of respect for that. I'm te mando muchísimo flores por Zoom. I know you're in España right now. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you so much for taking the time for Latinos Out Loud and for reaching out. I definitely want this project to be amplified. LOLeros, please go to any podcast platform and look up Lost Women of Science. Let's really keep Doctora Evangelina's history alive, and let's teach the younger generations about what we've been through, all of our strides. I mean, the first female doctor in La República Dominicana, she deserves this shine right now. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social.
Yes, I am on Instagram as Miss Laura Gómez, MS Laura Gómez, and my podcast is on Instagram and TikTok as Barajo Eso podcast. So you can follow me there, and of course you can follow Lost Women of Science is also on Instagram, and they have a wonderful website, very informative, lostwomenofscience.org, where you can also donate, because all of this research needs, help, and they don't do it by themselves. It's a lot of historians working through this, and a lot of proofreaders and a lot of fact checkers, something that doesn't happen much anymore. There's no much fact checking, but we do fact check.
We do, and let's not replace them with AI, because AI does not have its facts straight, okay? Seriously, there are just certain things that you cannot use AI for and that you need a human brain for.
It's a tool
okay?
to be used by humans. Yes.
Yes. Laura, thank you so much for your time. Y felicidades. And thank you. I cherish and value our friendship. Thank you so much for reaching out. And pa'lante como un elefante, como dicen.
Yeah, man.
Thank
This
you.
is so
Thank you
great.
for having me. I hope you come
Thank
over and we have a
you.
vermouth together at some point.
I would love vermouth. I love just the word vermouth. Nobody really uses vermouth anymore. And as a trained
Right.
bartender, it's like it's a necessity for like the
Yeah.
good stuff, the sophisticated drinks. Let's stop drinking Hennessy, people. Let's stop drinking Long Island iced teas, and let's go back to vermouth like they did in like the classic times.
Or have a vermouth or a Hennessy while you listen to this podcast, Lost Women of Science. You can also do that. Or mine, Barajo Eso, or yours, Latinos Out Loud,
That's right.
That's right. Well, LOLeros, this has been another episode. I love when people call me Rach. That's the true sign of friendship, by the way. I love that. I love that you just call me Rach. Okay, because like my family calls me Rach. And actually my sister calls me Roach, which is so annoying. But anyway.
Very warm and welcome. So I feel that's why it came out very natural.
Ay, thank you so much, Laura. LOLeros, you know what it is. Follow us at We Are Latinos Out Loud. You can follow me at Rachel La Loca. You can give us a call at 978 Latinos. We have a phone number. It's so great. Just pick up the phone and dial. I just pretended that there was a rotary phone. You guys probably don't even know about that. But, use the touch tones. I am so 80s with my pick in my hair. I will end the episode. Of course, the website is wearelatinosOutloud.co. It's not .com. It's .co. And on that note, thank you so much, Laura Gómez. Again, please follow this fabulous woman's career. Everything she does is gold. It's like she's got the Midas touch. I'm not sure. She's just one of those bendecida and very talentosas. Thank you so much for listening. On that note, we out.
It's the Latinos Out Loud podcast.